Welcome to Holistica's A to Z of the Healing Arts. I'm Robyn Wilkinson, and in the studio today we've got Lakita Sharnick, and we're going to be talking about what is Yin Yoga. Lakita, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Can you explain to us exactly what is Yin Yoga?
Yes, of course. So Yin Yoga is a slower, more meditative type of yoga. Mainly the postures are floor-based, so you're either in a seated position, you're supine on your back or prone on the belly. We are also holding these shapes anywhere from could be under 3 minutes up to 5, depending if you're a beginner or where you're at in your journey. And then typically, once you get into the shape, you hold for some time because we're actually working connective tissues and not the muscles.
Okay, and why would one do Yin Yoga? It feels very passive, but it's actually not, because things are moving.
Yes. So it is typically a passive practice because within Yin Yoga, one of the requirements or the principles is to find stillness, to soften in these shapes, because we are taking the concentration away from activating muscles and applying pressure. And in order for us to get to those deeper layers, it requires us to soften, so to be passive. However, what I think makes the practice a little bit harder is that because it's still, it is more meditative, so thoughts start to arise. Staying in a shape can be tricky for some time, but essentially it's a practice of practicing being present and being with what arises, which of course can be tricky, but also it's wonderful to explore.
And they say that after staying in a pose for a while and you breathing into the release of the body,
Yes.
and very often because we store trauma in our bodies, when we are able to release like that, it can also be a profound emotional release. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So in yoga and in Yin Yoga, obviously we can look at the physical body, mental, emotional, energetic. And in that emotional body, exactly like you said, such profound shifts can happen also because we're entering the state of stillness. We're practicing being present with what exactly comes up and then using the breath as an anchor to ground down and to sit with what is. And in that profound sacred space that we create and we hold, it does provide an opportunity, should you be open to it, for processing to happen, for releasing of trauma. Very powerful.
And they say it's a really, really good way of building up resilience, because as you're in a pose and you start thinking, how long do I have to stay here? This is terrible. I can't do this.
Yeah.
What a stupid thing. And then your mind starts attacking you. And it's actually to just hold through that and know that this is going to bring a benefit, like stop listening to your mind. So it's quite a good mindful discipline in that way.
Absolutely. So much of the practice is rooted in mindfulness, and it's exactly at that point where you start to experience the discomfort of, I've been in this shape for too long, I need to move, I need to scratch, I need to itch, where you're encouraged to come back to the breath, come back to being in the present moment and realize that you can exist in the discomfort, which is why it's also such a beautiful practice on the mat that you can take off into your everyday life. Because when you're standing in the queue at the bank, or when you're in traffic or feeling any kind of discomfort and wanting to react, it's like, breathe, come back. This isn't going to last forever, but we can practice being okay with things as it is. So, yeah.
I love what you said about being an observer. Instead of being in the situation,
Yes.
you just become the observer. And you can almost be humorous in watching yourself squirm and get uncomfortable.
Absolutely. And that's also what I love to do when I'm guiding sessions or facilitating. I love to remind participants that in this practice, we can assume the role of the curious observer of our experience. So that means we're not observing what's going on to judge or critique ourselves. We are observing so that we can be curious, so that we can just look in and see what comes up, what it actually encompasses, this thing of being human. And like you said, there can be humor then. Oh wow, look at how I'm thinking about dinner already. Oh, look at this. And the ability to laugh at ourselves is encouraged in this, and just to notice and not be so harsh and why am I thinking about this? Yeah.
So somebody once said to me, "What is Yin Yoga? It's just lying around," but it's not actually that. So
No.
when one is in the pose,
Yes.
you mentioned something about there's a way that you reach your edge and then you soften into the edge.
Yes.
And then there was another
stillness.
thing. The stillness.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly that.
Can you go through that with us?
Absolutely.
So first you get into the pose.
Exactly. And as you are finding your way into this shape, remember Yin Yoga is a functional practice. It's going to look different, you on your mat to your neighbor next to you. And that is highly encouraged because you want to find your version of the shape that is sustainable for you to hold for time. So as you're finding that version of the shape, you're going to look out for what is called the first edge. So that first point of kind of resistance or feeling, sensing into the body where you're like, okay, there's sensation. You pause there. Yin Yoga, it's a 5 out of 10. You don't want to go beyond that and reach to a pain level or reach to a point where you can't sustain your shape. So once you find the edge, the next thing we're going to do is see, can you stay that? Can you soften there? Can you surrender into your shape and find stillness? And I like to say a reasonable amount of stillness. We are only human, so you can't be, like completely frozen. So can you be reasonably still here? So that we can do the third step, which is holding for time. And that is essentially where they say the magic happens. Because in order to reach the deeper layers of the body, connective tissue, fascia, ligaments, joints, even the bones, it's the time, it's the stillness that can, help us go deeper.
So learning to be still in a bit of discomfort.
Exactly. You never want that discomfort to be pain, to be, anything that your body's saying absolutely not. And that's why it's actually quite beautiful, because how you're going to know if you found the appropriate edge for yourself is if you're moving a lot, you're going to know, okay, actually, maybe I've gone too far, or maybe I've not gone far enough. Once you find the edge, you're going to know, okay, cool, I can be here. This is sustainable for time. And even when discomfort arises, I'm going to be able to stay.
And Lakita, can anybody do Yin Yoga? Who's it for?
Anyone. It's for if you're older, if you're younger, if you're new to yoga, if you're healing from an injury, if you're pregnant. Obviously, these are all things that if you are pregnant, if you do have injuries, always speak to your teacher about it, speak to whoever's facilitating the session, only so that we know how to better support you. Yin Yoga is fabulous because we use lots of props, and these props are to support the practice, to perhaps assist in deepening. They are there to really act as another layer for you to spend a longer time in your shapes.
So props, you mean like cushions and
bolsters, blocks, sometimes, cushions, exactly. And this is also, if you don't have these things at home, you can create it, the cushions from your couch. You could use books. They might not be as soft as a block, but you can find ways to support yourself, even if you're practicing at home or on the go.
And physical benefits, is it just to keep yourself flexible?
Physical benefits abound. So hydration for the fascia, you are also stretching that out. The connective tissues are what encompass the muscles, and so you're keeping those bits of the body healthy. Mobility of the joints, it's completely beneficial for the entire physical body.
And to see benefits, does one have to do it every day, or is once a week enough, or what would you recommend, and for how long?
It's completely according to each person. So in order to I think get the takeaway, let's say, benefits, if you can have a Yin Yoga practice even once a week, I think you would start to feel it on the emotional body, the nervous system especially, because it is a practice that deeply links you to breath and to slowing down. But for everyone, it's different. Whatever you can fit in your week is good enough. And it just depends on what you've got time and space and capacity for.
One last thing, Lakita.
Yes.
Tell us how and why you got into Yin Yoga. Why was it your preferred? type of yoga?
So for me, I found Yin Yoga at a time in my life when I was particularly struggling with being able to sense my body in time and space. So my body awareness was something I struggled with, and then also being able to process emotions and sit with emotions. I had all these things that were coming up for me, but in different other styles of yoga, we were moving a bit too fast, and I didn't have the space to really breathe, which is what I needed, and to be able to experience the discomfort in a safe and a held space. So when I researched and then found Yin Yoga for the first time, it really resonated because I was able to find that kind of stillness, softness, and really just also the space to sit with everything that was kind of coming up for me, trauma, past experiences, that needed a space to be felt, a safe space to be felt. So that's what led me to starting a Yin practice, a personal Yin practice, and then to actually go on to study and to now offer it as a safe space or a space for others to also encounter these parts of themselves.
Thank you, Lakita. It's been so lovely talking to you, and we know a lot more about Yin Yoga now.
Thank you so much for having me, and such a pleasure to share this discipline or this practice that is really so accessible, and I would really implore everybody to give it a try.